We're going to go through reading art like a text, 6 through 8, okay? So are you guys ready to jump into the LEAP strategy? We know that LEAP is look. What's the L? Look. E? Evaluate. A? Analyze. P? Produce. You guys are right. LEAP, look. E, evaluation. A, analyze. And P? Produce. Okay. When we're looking, I think somebody already said it, we're going to be noticing. What do we notice? When we evaluate, okay? Because sometimes, the reason why I go through this is sometimes we try to interchange evaluate and analyze. And so we want to be very clear when we're dealing with kids that they understand what exactly they're doing when they're evaluating, okay? Versus looking and versus describing or even analyzing and producing. Why? Because those verbs, if you will, they help kids to frame what they're doing. They help them to frame the learning, okay? So when we talk about evaluation, tell me your name. Gina. Gina, what are we going to be doing when you can put that in your own words. You can read it verbatim or you can put it in your own words. What are we going to be doing when we're evaluating these images?
Well, it's looking at the value that the image is going to add to their story. So
okay.
It's an overall looking at the image and the value that it's going to add.
Do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I want to explore more? Do I want to go deeper, right? Putting a value on it, making a judgment call, okay? What about analyze? What are those things, Cassandra, that we're going to do?
Just looking at how the images help you glean the message that the artist is trying to give.
Okay, because like authors, artists are trying to tell us a story. They're telling a story. And so they want us to walk away with something. They don't just want us to look and say, that's nice, and keep moving, right? They want to, sometimes artists are taking a social stance. Sometimes they're trying to really just share an experience with us, broaden our horizons. They are giving us the virtual field trip, but we should also be going through our minds, what do they want us to walk away with? And when we analyze, we do question that. And then why do we need to produce something? Help me out, Gail.
Something that shows that we understood what we saw or helps us to understand it better or helps us to show someone else what we got from it.
And by that product being intentionally planned, as the facilitator of learning, what does that help me do? As remember, we're going to be switching our hats from participant as 3-5 experiencing it, and then we're also going to switch it to facilitators of learning because you guys are charged with the task to take this and go back and work through it. As facilitators of learning, what is the importance of the product being intentionally designed?
Check your understanding.
Checking for understanding. And it helps me as a facilitator of learning to adjust where I need to adjust. All right, so you ready to take the leap?
Yes.
All right, we're going to start with the task, the learning task. So as you guys look at your training manual, look at step one. Step one we know is the 30-second look, okay? And so what do you notice about down below? If you look at the learning task, let's read the learning task silently first. We're going to choose one area, either the foreground, the middle ground, or the background as your starting point. Your ultimate goal with us beginning with the end in mind, you're actually going to create a descriptive map using only landmarks from the artwork to help a classmate visually reach a different area of the painting. Okay? So you're going to have to explain how to get there without telling them all the answers, but you're only using evidence from the art, okay? You're going to explain how the artist positioned objects in the scene to tell a story. And so if you look at your art, the foreground would be the rugged area across the front where you see the cows and you see the man. The middle ground would be that area in between the trees. You may notice something there. And the background is back where the mountains are, a little farther beyond, a lot farther beyond, actually. And so the graphic that you have here just helps you to remember where the foreground, middle ground, and the background is. And those are called planes, okay? So you may hear me use plane interchangeably with area. Does that make sense? All right. So what I'd like for you to do is a 30-second look at the art. What do you notice? All right. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay? This, for the second look at the image, what I'd like for you to do is everything that you were noticing in that first look, that gives you an opportunity. So I'm going to shift hats real quickly. As a facilitator of learning, when you give them the opportunity to do that first 30-second look, it's always good to not have them do anything. Just give them an opportunity to soak it in. I noticed that, and we do it naturally, we start writing because we're trying to hold our thinking. But if we build in the opportunity to just soak it in, soak it up, and then give them another 30 seconds to hold their thinking, then they're not trying to do those two things. They really are just digesting the art and the images. Does that make sense? So now with this 30 seconds, I'd like for you to jot down words, phrases, or sentences that come to mind as you digest the image. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if you're with me. Okay? 30 seconds, you may begin. Four, 3, 2, and 1. Okay? So now that we've jumped into this particular image, I would like for you guys to now pull back another layer. We're going to add some value because ultimately we have to have some, we have to build a relationship, I guess, if you will, with the foreground, with the middle ground, and with the background. Why is that necessary? Why do we need to build a relationship with those particular planes?
Because we're going to be giving a descriptive to someone.
Because we're going to be giving a descriptive. As facilitators of learning, constantly, as much as you can, bring them back to the learning task. It helps to keep them focused. It helps to remind them of the why we're doing this. It helps it not feel so isolated, if you will, in activity, and it doesn't become an activity for activity's sake. So what we're going to do as we evaluate it, because I need you to know a little bit about what's happening in the foreground and the middle ground and the background. I want you to think about, what do you think this work of art is about? What makes you say that? What message do you think the artist is trying to convey or tell? I want you to notice the similarities and the differences between the details based on the different planes in the painting. Remember, this particular artist, George Inez is strategically using foreground, middle ground, and background to give us a historical walk. Okay? And so you guys are going to create the chart. The chart is kind of already there for you on your particular quadrant. So you can just kind of jot your answers right there. You don't have to create your own. Shift gears. You may have more of a tactile classroom, so it may be that they use the chart paper and you want them to actually get up and physically move. Maybe they've been sitting too long. That's up to you. That's a teacher choice, okay? You guys are actually going to take that time. You can do it with a partner. You don't have to do this alone. So I'd like to hear some conversation about what is it that you're noticing, but what are the strategic details that you think might be important in telling this story for this particular artist. Begin.
And what I saw were animals moving across. So I looked at it from the front to the back. As my descriptor to myself would be like Jack and Jill going up the hill. So I would look at it and look at, so they're going across the mountain, over the bridge, through the city, and moving into the mountains.
Okay.
That's what I saw, but I don't know the title.
I don't either.
Story.
So,
You might think of some of the symbolism that jumps out in the particular work of art. Those of you that are history buffs, you can bring that background knowledge in at this point. So we're going to move to the third quadrant, which is Analyze. Inside of your baskets, you guys have a die. You're going to use the die. You have 6 numbered questions under the Analyze. You're either going to talk about how did the artist use the planes to tell a story, what details help the viewer get the gist of the artist's message, what might be happening beyond the scene, what makes you say that. Could this be taking place today, or was it happening a long time ago? What makes you say that? How do the foreground, middle ground, and background add value to the artist's message? What makes you say that? And how is the work of art important to history? So the title of this particular work is A Bit of the Roman Aqueduct. A bit of the Roman aqueduct. Okay? This took place at the turn of the century. So, what George Enes was trying to tell us is that everybody wasn't ready to turn, right? And so if you look at the transition, I want you to take that into account as you're answering those questions, okay? Back during the turn of the century, countries that actually had running water systems versus still using wells, and those that were not true running water systems, they were seen as countries of wealth. So they symbolized a more modern, a more functioning country because of the running water. So a bit of the Roman aqueduct. This particular transition, think about all of those things, those nuggets of information, okay? In your baskets, you guys have a die, okay? So shifting from participant to facilitator of learning. With your students, there are some norms that we need to set prior to their use with these particular die. Otherwise, someone may get hit in the head with this particular object, right? So no throwing, right? Those simple norms that we want to have happen when we're participating in group work. But you have 6 questions up here, okay? In those 6 questions, we have 6 sides obviously here. I want you to roll the die. You're gonna volley back and forth between you and your partner. Roll the die. Whatever the number lands on, that's the question you're gonna answer, okay? We're gonna go through 2 rounds of that just to give everybody an opportunity to get comfortable with answering those questions. And so you'll do that as a participant. Shift mentally. As a facilitator of learning, you would want to give enough time for them to actually navigate probably 6 questions. These questions are designed with teachers in mind. You would want to design your questions as a teacher for your students with your students in mind. Some of these definitely they can answer and kind of elaborate on to help them analyze, but because we're trying to take them deeper into the text, right now they're going through it, right? They're going through the text and they're going deeper down before they come out with the produce stage. And so what we want to make sure that we're doing is asking intentional questions to help them to pull meaning, because ultimately they're going to create a writing product. And so now what I'd like for you to do is use your die to actually answer those questions. I'll give you 2 questions apiece. Go ahead.
Again, and now
Life is life for those who
you know, the background knowledge, the backstory
from cities.
is helping me understand that there's still
not primitive, but they're like seeking water from the river.
So this scene is drawn where you're kind of going up. It kind of sets a path for you. What could be happening over this way? What could be happening over this way? Could be happening up here. And up here would be back here where the mountains are. And what could be happening down here before we even reached this scene here? What do you think? No right or wrong?
I just look at it, I think it's kind of peaceful.
Okay.
So,
So for you, it's calming and serene.
it is.
What do you notice about the color changes?
Well, that's what we talked. We've already kind of talked about the color changes.
I think changes.
How is it important to history?
I don't know. Did she say
I mean, I think it shows that even though change is good and helpful and is a solution, it's slow moving. I mean, even like a cow is slow moving, you know?
this line? Yes.
It's slow moving because people aren't always ready to.
Change.
It feels like a mountain
What
to
makes
them.
you say that?
They're
Think
not
because
always ready to.
the foreground, the middle.
So I'm going to bring you back together. It's feeling heavy in here, right? It goes a little deeper. I'm going to give you another nugget. When this was created, 41, it's 1800s. And mountains symbolize you have come to, better times. And so the mountains being afar, we know that the journey in terms of the turn of the century, because everybody wasn't in a position to turn, if you will. Everybody wasn't on board with changing with the time and becoming more modern. So that's where we started with rugged terrain. What do you notice in between the trees? What's happening there? There's what? A bridge. Okay. Underneath the bridge, what do you see?
Grass.
You see grass. Whereas before, what was happening? What was in the foreground?
Water.
Water. Okay. No grass, which means we know where there's water, it has to go somewhere. Okay? What do you see beyond what do you see in the background?
City. Hotel.
A city, a village, okay? So, there's our story. What were you charged to do? What was your task? What was your learning task?
To move someone through just by using the landmarks.
Just by using the landmarks, with the thought that they don't have the image in front of them. So you have to get them from one plane to the next. You may begin at the middle ground and take them to the background. You can take them from the background to the middle ground. You get where I'm going with this? You can take them foreground to the middle ground. You can take them in any direction that you want them to go. You have to choose 3 landmarks. I'd like for you to do that now. On your piece of art, circle your landmarks. For the 3 parts, the 3 landmarks that you circled, I'd like for you to create a caption to go with each one landmark that you circled, okay? And you can use the space on your quadrant to create your captions. You may want to number the things that you circled on your artwork. All right, we're going to revisit our learning task. Choose one area from the foreground, the middle ground, or the background as your starting point. You're going to create a descriptive map using landmarks from the artwork to help a classmate visually reach a different area of the painting. You'll explain how the artist positioned the objects in the scene to tell a story. Okay? You can start, obviously, with the captions. We might have to give a topic sentence, right, to lead us into that, and maybe some background information. But we've set ourselves up for success in order to do that. Cassandra, share your 3 captions. Let's see if you're going to tell Cassandra where her starting point was and where she took you. So make sure everybody's listening. Put your listening ears on. All right?
Large dead tree that's fallen on the bank.
Large dead tree that's fallen on the bank.
Stone bridge over grassy plain area.
Okay.
And modern village beyond the bridge, behind lined trees.
She started where? Where'd she start? In the foreground. Where'd she take you? To the middle ground. And where did she land? In the background. All right. Dee Dee, give us your caption. Everybody listen.
Ancient stone bridge,
Ancient stone bridge.
bright sunny landscape,
Bright sunny landscape.
and worn path.
Worn path. Where did Dee Dee start?
Middle ground.
In the middle ground. Okay, where did she go from there?
To the fore.
Dee Dee, read your second caption.
Bright sunny landscape.
Bright sunny landscape. Where'd she go? She went to the background. And then where did she come back to? Where did she land? She landed in the foreground, okay? And so as you see, this helps kids to visualize what's happening. They're painting a picture, they're telling a story. They're able to actually explain landmarks without having to tell. So they're showing, not telling, as a result of digging deeper into that particular image, okay? So as we close out, guys, I want you to think about, in this particular lesson, in this particular activity, when we think 6-8, definitely they're delving into more complex texts, right? And so we want to think about what was my deliberate planning process. I want you to just think about, what was I very intentional about as I helped you to navigate, to dig deeper into these particular images? What literacy strategies did we use to help us to go into, through, and beyond the text? Okay? I'll give you about 30 seconds to kind of grapple with your own thinking. Think about all the things we did in order to get into this text, to figure out what's the story that the artist was trying to tell. Ready? All right. Spirits.
There was time allotted just dedicated to observing.
Okay. Keep going.
Be able to jot down our ideas.
Okay. What else?
The use of terminology, background, middle ground, foreground.
There were structured questions.
What else?
Provided background knowledge.
We shared with our partner.
Okay. Collaborative conversations. Think about our standards. What else? Did we read closely? Did we write? What kind of writing did we do? Did we do argumentative? Did we do narrative? Or did we do informational explanatory?
Informational.
Okay, we could keep going. The objective of our particular standards in English language arts is to effectively integrate multiple standards in the course of a lesson. Of the 32 standards, this particular lesson, over the course of several days, you actually hit 28 of the 32. Right? So where it feels sometimes cumbersome and difficult, it can easily be done as we navigate with a process. The LEAP strategy is only an opportunity for us to begin. It's not the place where we end, especially as we're trying to get kids to grow in their writing and their thinking and how they delve into, through, and beyond a text. Okay? All right, today couldn't have happened without you. I want to thank you for your time. I'm Kelly York.